What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. A while back we put up a video covering some of the more interesting and unique champion abilities in League of Legends, and it's actually been kind of a while since we've done a more traditional style top 10 video on this channel, but I definitely want to try and revive that video style since I think a lot of you guys really liked it, and today we're doing another top 10, this time looking at what the most powerful basic abilities are in League of Legends. Most of these abilities have multiple functions and strengths that really make them stand out in terms of their impact on a game. But for the sake of this list, we're going to be comparing them all in a vacuum against one another to try and work out what the maximum potential of each ability could be. And please keep in mind that top 10s are, as always, just kind of our personal opinions, so be gentle if you disagree with the list, but I'd love to hear what you guys think about our list, or if you maybe have a different idea. And if you enjoy the video, make sure to hit that like button, and if you don't, hit that dislike. Anyway, number 10 is Alistar's Q, Pulverize. Pulverize is an area of effect knock-up ability caused by Alistar smashing the ground beneath him. Alistar has long been a staple of both ranked and competitive play because of his playmaking ability, and Pulverize has always been the head of that power. Being able to knock up multiple enemies at an almost instant speed is incredibly strong, and it can be used in a bunch of different ways. Whether you need Alistar to knock up an enemy so you can chase them down, or whether he needs to use it to peel for his carries, there's almost never a time when Pulverize isn't going to be a useful ability to use. The fact that it's an area of effect ability is insane too, because it can also be used to set up to or contribute to some epic wombo combos. It's only coming in at number 10 on the list because of its short range and the reliance on Alistar's W to work to its fullest potential. Number 9 is Darius's E, Apprehend, a hook with a slow attached to it that can also hit multiple units. There's quite a lot of hook abilities in the game, and they're all very strong in their own rights, but we've decided to use Darius's Apprehend for a couple of reasons. For starters, it's the only area of effect hook in the game, able to grab a group of enemies and drag them all into Darius, and it also has a soft crowd control effect, giving all units hooked a 40% slow for a second after the hook is finished, making it harder for them to escape after being released. Now that's impressively strong by itself, but the ability also has a passive that scales Darius's armor penetration by 5% for every rank in the ability. At max rank, that means Darius is ignoring 25% of an enemy's armor with this ability alone, and as a passive, it's always effective. This is some insane value for just a single ability, and it definitely contributed to the place on the top 10. Apprehend is quite a short range hook compared to other hooks though, which definitely prevented it from reaching a higher spot, but it can still hook people through walls, so don't underestimate it. Number 8 is Janna's Q, Howling Gale. Howling Gale is an interesting ability because it doesn't fire immediately upon hitting the actual ability key. Rather, it starts to charge up, the ability next to Janna gaining in power for 3 seconds or until she presses the button again. And when this happens, the tornadoes launch, knocking up and dealing magic damage to all units hit. The range in the ability, the knockup duration, and the damage dealt are all increased based on how long Howling Gale gets charged up for. Most area of effect knockups are awesome abilities in their own right, but the really deadly thing about Howling Gale is that Janna doesn't actually need to fire the ability to discourage the enemy team from attacking her. It has so much zone control due to the charge effect. Setting up the whirlwind, especially in a choke point, completely stops the enemy team from being able to move forward, making it one of the most powerful disengage tools in the entire game. It's also much more easier and reliable to use and predict and interrupt an opponent's gap closer, because you can set it up and then fire it when you need it, or it's a lot easier to just double tap it, as opposed to something like Thresh's Flay that sure, they can kind of stop those dash effects, but Janna's just does it so much more consistently and reliably and easier than pretty much any other champion in the game. There's a lot of variable power to Janna's Q, so whether you want to double tap it for that quick knockup, or to cancel an opponent's dash, or fully charge it and send it through a wall to max range, you're completely in control of how to use this ability, and if you're a great Janna player, it's unbelievably powerful, and definitely earns Janna a spot in our top 10. Number 7 has got to be Gragas's E, Body Slam. This ability is honestly kind of insane. It causes Gragas to surge forward, knocking back and stunning all units he collides with, dealing a huge amount of magic damage. And if you do manage to hit an enemy with it, the cooldown is reduced by 3 seconds to allow for a quicker follow-up on the next Body Slam. A stun on top of a knockback is always going to be difficult to deal with, but the thing that makes this ability so strong is actually its interaction with Flash. There's a few abilities in the game that can allow you to reposition mid-cast using flash, giving you the ability to use it through minions, extend the range, or even use it to predict an opponent's flash and hit them all the same. Learning to E-flash is one of the most important and rewarding parts about playing Gragas, and it's incredibly reliable once you get used to using it. Riot Gypsy Lord once commented on why it's so hard to balance Gragas, saying that his body slam means that Gragas will pretty much always have the ability to reliably knock someone into your team every 5 minutes when flash is available, and that combo of the two is just unstoppable. There's another basic ability that interacts with flash even better than Gragas' body slam though, and that's going to beat it out just at number 6, which is Shen's E, Shadow Dash. It's slightly better rated on our list for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's got a longer range, meaning that in a perfect situation it can catch even more enemy units, and it also has even more powerful crowd control, one of the only taunts in the game, which means that Shen can dash into an enemy team and then force them to follow him as he lures them into his team or just under a friendly tower or something. Shadow Dash has been the most impressive part of Shen's kit outside of his ultimate since his release, and honestly a lot of pros in the past have said that Shen's taunt is just so insane and is a big part of why he's been a competitive pick for so long. And it's such a powerful and awesome playmaking tool that it remained completely unchanged through his rework too, losing only the reduced damage from taunted enemies that it originally had. It interacts with flash in pretty much the same way as Gragas' body slam, allowing him to reposition that or extend the range of it to catch enemies by surprise and leave them with little to no time to react. These flash interactions are incredibly powerful, but dependence on flash to reach their full potential means that these two abilities didn't quite make it into our top 5. And kicking off the top 5 of the list is going to be Cho'Gath's Q, Rupture. The best way to describe this ability is to look at Alistar's Pulverize. They're pretty similar, they're both area of effect knockups, but with some key differences that really set Rupture apart on another level. For starters, you just have raw power. Rupture deals way more base damage and has a 1.0 AP ratio, meaning that it's one of the strongest scaling abilities in the entire game. It's also ranged, meaning that Cho'Gath can knock up targets that Alistar wouldn't be able to reach. And on top of all of that, enemies hit by Rupture also get slowed, adding insult to injury for those that have just been hit by it. It's often described as a mini Malphite ultimate because of this, and although it's not as versatile as a Malphite ultimate because of Malphite's ability to gap close and put himself on the front line, as a basic ability, Cho'Gath's Rupture is still incredibly powerful. Number 4 is Zack's E, Elastic Slingshot. We're getting into some really interesting territory here, and the thing that really sets Elastic Slingshot apart is just its unbelievable range. Aside from global and semi-global abilities like Nocturne's ultimate, Elastic Slingshot is actually the longest range dash in the entire game, covering an insane amount of ground and knocking up anyone that he lands on. The most powerful part about having a long-ranged dash like Elastic Slingshot is that you can use it to gank lanes from locations that will pretty much never be warded, meaning that as a jungler, Zack can be incredibly hard to defend against in terms of vision. He can pop out from nowhere from places you least expect it, dealing huge damage and crowd controlling you while he's at it. And a blind slingshot is insanely hard to react to in time since the actual travel speed of the dash is very quick. The cooldown isn't particularly long either, meaning that even if you manage to survive the first part, his second slingshot won't be too far behind, and he's usually tanky enough to tower dive as well. You're never safe from Zack ganks, and it really boils down to the power in his Elastic Slingshot. Number 3 is kind of an interesting one because I didn't exactly consider it when I had initially made the list, but it's actually Rek'Sai's W, Burrow and Unburrow. This is a really interesting one because most of the abilities on our list are just strong because of their raw power or because of some kind of crowd control effect, whereas Burrow offers a ton of utility in the form of Tremor Sense. While burrowed, Rek'Sai has her vision range reduced drastically, but to compensate it she gains the Tremor Sense effect, an ability that allows her to see any moving enemy or neutral units. Whether an enemy's walking behind a wall or hiding in a brush, you never have to face check with Rek'Sai because of the insane range that Tremor Sense gives you and the information that it also gives you to know where enemies are hiding. League is a game of information, and that hit to your sight range is well worth the trade-off. The power of this ability doesn't end there though. When burrowed, Rek'Sai moves faster as well, gains bonus movement speed, and moves through units, as well as giving her a knock-up if she unburrows while beneath an enemy unit, dealing a reasonable amount of damage. The cooldown is very short, so she can usually burrow and unburrow mid-fight for extra knockups on different targets, or for the same target again, making it insanely versatile and well deserving of our top 3 spot. Number 2 is a shared spot dedicated to the Qs of Nasus and Vhagar, Siphoning Strike and Baleful Strike. In terms of raw power, these abilities are the strongest in the game by far because of their ability to stack infinitely. Every champion in the game reaches a cap in power eventually with 6 items, but with the exception of Nasus and Vhagar, who can keep stacking and becoming more powerful. For this reason, we wanted to kind of group them together. However, there are noticeable differences between the 2 abilities. To start with, Nasus' Siphoning Strike is an auto attack enhancer, meaning that it can only be used in melee range, and the stacks gained from killing units will only affect the damage of Siphoning Strike itself, whereas Vhagar's Baleful Strike is a ranged nuke, and rather than stacking its own damage, it increases Vhagar's ability power through his passive, Phenomenal Evil. Because it affects his total ability power and therefore his other abilities as well, Vhagar is still a little bit dependent on his other abilities to deal damage, whereas Nasus can happily one-shot people with his Siphoning Strike alone, and because of that reason, Nasus' Siphoning Strike definitely comes on top of Vhagar's Baleful Strike, and I would rate it a little bit higher in terms of strength. It's just that the 2 abilities do pretty much the exact same thing in the same way, so we wanted to keep them together. And here we are at our number 1 spot. We have Blitzcrank with his Q, Rocket Grab. Riot Games actually described this to be the most powerful basic ability in the entire game, and we definitely have to agree with them. I don't think there will ever be a more game-changing basic ability than this one. There's no basic ability in the entire game that can win the game by itself like a Blitzcrank hook can. One prime hook on a target in the late game can just close out a game, secure a comeback, or win an entire team fight. Blitzcrank's entire kit revolves around this ability by itself, and the rest of abilities, including his ultimate, are a lot weaker as a trade-off since his hook is just so damn insane. It's a lot different to other hook abilities since the pull distance itself is so large, and it actually pulls the target the entire distance, rather than part way such as with Thresh or Nautilus. Hooking a target will instantly bring them to your team and is going to secure the kill pretty much every single time, meaning that a good Blitzcrank player is going to dominate the game and carry harder than almost any other support champion in League of Legends. And there you have it, our top 10 most powerful basic abilities in League of Legends. We'd love to hear what you guys think about these abilities or what you might change in our list, so make sure to leave a comment below and let us know. And that's going to be it for me. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.